guys, you guys are in for a treat. So first and foremost, guys, welcome to Tuesday Talks with Jazz. My name is Jasmine, aka Jasmine Louisa. I am a proud member of Mama's Cocktail Hour, and like I just said, this is Tuesday Talks with Jazz, where I come on every week to share with you my story or stories about my experiences in the past or things that I'm presently going through. I always want to say thank you to you guys for coming on here. You guys are super supportive and super dope. And so, we've been doing Tuesday Talks for a while. And for the most part, it's just really been me coming on here and sharing my experiences with you guys and you guys sharing your experiences in the comments. Well, today is a very special day, a special treat, because not only is it the first time in a really long time that I've brought on a guest to Tuesday Talks, but she's a bomb-ass guest. Like, if I knew her, like, in my 20s, then my 20s probably would have went completely different if I knew her then to do what she does now back then. So, guys, I would like to welcome the founder of the Single You Academy, host of the Single You, the podcast, Miss REKA Robinson, aka the Single Girls Life Coach. Oh, guys, let me see if I did it right.
Hi. What's up, Jazz?
Hello. I'm like so excited to have you here. Like, you don't even know.
Oh, I'm so excited too. Girl, if I had me in my 20s would have went so different as well. But yeah.
So crazy. Let me tell you why. Because I've been super thinking, I was like nervous. And I'm like, why am I so nervous? And then it dawned on me. It's not that I'm nervous. It's just that I'm excited because hearing your stuff, like hearing the things that you have to say, which we'll get into, guys, it just brought me back to that 20-something-year-old girl. And it's like, wow, I can't wait to, have her on here and just share all that information that wasn't available when I was going through what I was going through. So that's where I'm getting this like, oh, she needs to come on.
Yeah. And that's why I do what I do. And it's for us 30s and 40-year-olds as well, and 50s and sometimes 60-year-olds. Whenever you get the message, it's a great message to have. So I'm here for everybody who needs to hear singleness is not a punishment.
So before we even get into that, REKA, for those who don't know, who's REKA and what exactly does REKA do?
I mean, I could be like, well, I like long walks on the beach or whatever. But no, for the purposes of this conversation, the reason why you have me on your platform, which thank you so much. I'm so honored. You slid into my DMs and it wasn't weird. It wasn't, whatever. Right. Because I know you're like, is this weird? I don't know. And I was like, no, what's up? And I love having this conversation. But yes, so my name is REKA Robinson. I am a former radio personality turned podcast host, like you said, Single You the podcast, turn life coach, certified NLP life coach, which means I studied neuro-linguistic programming and got certified in that. And I am the founder of Single You Academy, which is my online coaching program that helps women, the women who are loyal, but that loyalness now has you frustrated because you're constantly trusting he will change, which he never does. And you are ready to change that cycle. You're ready to stop that cycle. You're ready to discover your worth, and you're ready to learn how to set and keep boundaries. Well, then I would be the coach for you. And as you said, AKA the Single Girls Life Coach. I've deemed myself that. But yeah, so that's who I am for in this lane and this conversation we're going to have today.
So in other words, for all those who doubt, you are not just some Instagram personality. You are like the real thing. Like, this is your passion. This is your ministry. This is something that you live, breathe. This is you.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? You are the second person today to tell me this is a ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And I received that. I do believe that in this season, God has me here
Mm-hmm.
to be a light for single women, and to let women know that they are worthy regardless of their relationship status. So I receive it, girl. Yeah, it's my ministry. Let's go.
That's right. Own it. Like, I
Yes.
have so many questions for you, but I know we have a topic, but again, so many questions. When you refer to ministry, you did a live, I believe, a couple of days ago,
Uh-huh.
and you had mentioned how you were sitting in a beach when you were kind of going through your breakup, right?
Yeah.
And you said you found purpose in your pain, like your pain is your purpose, right?
Yep.
So I would just like to start there because there's a lot of women who are in our age. I'm 38, just like you.
Yay! Wait, when's your birthday?
Christmas.
You're a Christmas baby?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, girl. Okay. Well, happy early birthday, which, by the way, so December 29th is my half birthday. I'm June 29th. Oh, that's my real birthday, but so
Oh
I just
man,
turned
I'm still
30.
older than you.
You like 6 months.
Dang. Still gonna
Right,
turn that
right,
39 before
right,
you.
right. And we still
But
look good. Look at us.
oh,
Don't look
look
at
at us.
look. You know they say black and brown don't crack, girl. So
I
here
know,
we are.
girl. Like my
Okay.
mother likes to say, water and a vino.
Yeah, exactly. This is water and minding my business. Exactly.
But back to the pain thing. The reason I bring
Okay.
that up is because a lot of women in our age group have gone through some things,
Yes.
right? And it's
Yes.
very easy to fall in the woe is me.
Yes.
All victimizing ourselves. Oh,
Right.
we went through this and this is why I find myself in this life and I'm already too old because, for some reason people think 30s and 40s is too old
Right. Right.
to move on. If you could just go a little bit into how you can take that pain like you did and kind of turn it into purpose in a sense.
Yeah. First of all, I want to give a shout out to my cousin. He goes, I'm just stopping through to say hi, cousin. So hi, cousin. Okay.
Hi, Rika's
So
cousin.
turning the pain into purpose. So you mentioned when I was on a beach. So I will I know you know the story, but do you mind if I share it on
Go
your
right ahead,
platform?
whatever you want to
Yeah.
share.
Yeah, so from the years of 2015 to 2017, unfortunately, I lost my mind. And I lost it for a guy, unfortunately. And looking back and looking, in retrospect on that relationship, I went through a lot of emotional abuse. There was a lot of gaslighting and projection going on in that relationship, which, of course, nobody, especially back then, was talking about toxic narcissism, projection. So these
Gaslighting.
are things,
Mm-hmm.
right, that I did not know that were happening. I just knew that I was in a relationship and I was trying to get the goal in life, which religion, society tells us women that the goal in life is to get married and have kids. And that is what you do as a woman. That is your duty. And if you are 22 and a half and you don't make it, then you suck at life.
That is how you are deemed successful. If
That's
you
how you,
married, if you have a bunch of kids, it don't
yep,
matter if your husband's a piece of crap, you
yep.
still married and you have kids.
You are still married. And so I just knew that he wasn't hitting me. So I did not think that I was being abused. I didn't, even though I was constantly minimizing myself in that relationship. I was constantly accused of things that I
Mm-hmm.
never did, whatever. He was calling me everything under the sun but a child of God. And I stayed.
Mm-hmm.
Tap dancing, trying to be a good woman, right? And trying to be this good Christian girl, and get this marriage and children that everybody wants me to have. And so that relationship ended in 2017, and he actually broke up with me. It was a long distance relationship. So, by the way, I'm in Seattle, and he lived in Atlanta. So it was a long distance relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the moment he broke up with me, which oddly enough was around my birthday, and we were in his car, and he literally looks at me and he was like, yeah, so I just feel like I can't trust you. You know what I'm saying? So we just gonna have to end this relationship. That's how men sound to me.
Yeah.
So this is how men sound to me. And he was like, so, I'm breaking up with you. And when I tell you in that moment, Jazz, like I literally started boohooing, the ugly
Mm-hmm.
cry. And I bet you he thought it was because I was sad that he broke up with me. But no, it was actually a release, finally, because I knew that I shouldn't have been with him. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely was the woman who passed up red flags, shaded the red with a little bit of green, because I was like, but I see his potential and blah, blah, blah. And I
Yes.
was trying to love the red flags out of him.
I love
And
that. I
so,
love that
that comment. I have that in my notes.
Yeah.
Love the red flags out of him, girl,
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
have all tried to love the red flags out of somebody.
Girl. And how well is that working out for us?
It's nothing.
Not.
We were
Exactly.
worn out. Nothing didn't change. They
Exactly.
still red flagging.
But when you're in that moment, you think that you can, because I'm good enough. Look at me. You should love me the way that I want you to love me. So just love me. Come on, blah, blah, blah. And you feel bad for him. And then, we're natural nurturers because we're women. So he breaks up with me, that weight lifted. And again, I was in Atlanta. And in that moment, I think we got back to his house and I ended up changing my flight because I was supposed to stay like another week. And it cost me $600. I ain't had money at that time, but I changed my flight because I knew I needed to get home. I was like, if I could just get home, I can erase all of this that just happened to me. And so, I changed my flight. I walked into the house that I live in now. I dropped my bags and I was like, what the was that? And I said the F word. I'm a cussing Christian sometimes,
I'm a cussing Christian too.
Right.
It's okay.
Sometimes you got to add color to the story. You know what I mean? But I know Instagram doesn't like us to cuss and I don't want to get it shut down. But yeah. And I began, instead of blaming him, like you said, some of us do. Why couldn't he, he's toxic. He's this, he's that. I didn't ask those questions. I said, how could I allow myself to be in a relationship like that? Like I was so bamboozled and dumbfounded by me because I come from a 2-parent household. I had a wonderful childhood. I love my dad. My parents are still married. They've been married for 44 years. I was like, I'm a smart girl. I went to Howard University. Like, what the hell was that? And so I went on this journey of figuring out my whys. And that is when I decided, again, so we broke up June of 2017. By December of 2017, I went to Mexico. I went to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico by myself because I wanted to, and everybody was scared for me. My mama, and I was on the radio at that time, even my co-host, and his family is from Mexico, and he was scared. He's like, but the cartel and this, I said, Lord, I'm going to be on a resort. Like, I'm cool. So
you on a mission though. When we on a mission, we don't care. We just like,
exactly. And I knew that I needed to hear my own voice. I needed to hear God's voice because I was listening to what he had to say about me too much. I was listening to society too much. I was listening to men too much who always told me that I was too much. I literally had an ex-boyfriend, not this one, but another one, tell me that I had it two together. So that's why he broke up with me. So I'm used to hearing, girl, listen.
In regard to that two together, you said something in one of your lives that you said, if you don't know who you are and you go into a relationship, that man will define who you are.
He will give you the definition of you. That's why, that is why you have to go into everything knowing exactly who you are, because society, men, whoever, your parents will definitely define you if you are not careful. So I go to Mexico and I brought 2 books with me because I was like, what do people do on a solo trip? I guess you read. I don't know. So I brought 2 books. And at that time, I wasn't really a reader. Cut to today, girl, I've read over 60 books. But I brought Gabrielle Union's We're Gonna Need More Wine. And I brought The Purpose Driven Life by Pastor Rick Warren. So to get to the answering of your original question, when he broke up with me in June of 2017, I felt like I heard God say, I will use this story. And the woman I was back then in 2017, I was like, no, you're not. I'm not telling anybody what is, no, we're not. No, I'm supposed to be this strong woman. I will never tell anybody I went through this. And when I was reading Gabrielle Union's book, when I was on my solo trip, I'm reading her book, and Jasmine, I promise you, I thought Gabrielle Union was talking about my life. And I was like, yo, does she know me? I'm so confused. So this is
she was looking in your window taking notes.
Because some of the things that she had been through before Dwayne Wade was exactly my story. Her growing up in a 2-parent household, nobody ever having the conversation with her about what makes a healthy relationship versus unhealthy. So we're just trying to be in these relationships, and we have no idea about relationships and humanness and human behavior. And we don't fully understand when Maya Angelou says, when people show you who they are, believe them. So we're just stumbling through relationships because we think that's what we're supposed to do. without any knowledge. And the Bible talks about my people perish from lack of knowledge. And that's in every lane. So if you lack knowledge in relationships, this is why we're constantly trying to love the red flags out of men. Because we think that's relationships. Because society told us ride or die. You know
that's
what I mean?
ride or die. That's definitely it. I want to go back to something you said. And also one of the lives that I heard you said, a lot of women don't date to find out information. Like we're not trying to take notes. No. Like we're not doing it right. Dating is a process where you're supposed to be like observing, taking notes. Yeah. Instead, we lead with our heart, and then we think, "Ooh, he has red flags. Oh, I'm gonna be a greater woman if I can love them out of it."
Yeah, because we fall for the story, like the Beauty and the Beast story, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I listen. I'm still a Disney girl, but the messages that Disney gave us growing up, especially if we're millennials, trash, especially Beauty and the Beast. So Beauty literally gets thrown in jail because she switches spots with her dad by this beast. And Beauty literally decides, Belle, her name was, literally decides, I'm going to love the red flags out of him to make him become this prince. And so we have internalized that story and we think, yeah, he's been so mean to these other women. He's been trash and he's been a cheater, but he will finally grow up for me because I am that good. So he will change for me. He will become my prince, you know?
And then we win. And then we win.
And then we're like this winner of this prize. And it's like, no, sweetheart, I promise you, you do not have to suffer for love. I promise you, you don't.
You know, it's crazy because for, like you said, Disney princesses growing up Latina, we watched a lot of novelas, a lot of soap operas.
Yes.
Okay. So that is the worst.
Yes.
Like my grandma set me up for failure because I was growing up thinking like I was going to meet this guy and he may, do me wrong, but then eventually he'll see the light. And then we're going to live off happily ever after. And he's going to be rich too, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Must be rich. Must be rich. Right. Yes.
So for me, like I grew up thinking, okay, that's what I do. Like I'm going to grow up and I'll go to school. Yeah, I'll do what I need to do. But what's really important is that I find a man that I fall in love with and I have children with. And my main goal is to be a wife. Nobody told me what that was. My mom was a single parent. So it's not like I could take notes from her. Yeah. And it's basically like you just stick it out. There was no your worth. There was no what is it that you expect? Yeah. What you're willing to put up with is pretty much like you're the woman, you love him, and you're gonna write it out because that's what women do. We fix it. We just
ride it out. We suffer in order to get to this happily ever after, right?
We martyr ourselves. It's like it's the Captain Save a Hoe syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. We minimize ourselves and walk on eggshells and really don't speak up for ourselves because we think, well, this is the goal they said I should have. So I'm only worthy if a man has put a ring on my finger. And again, how well is that working out for us? Like, look at society, right? And so to finish the story and finally answer your question, your original question. And no, this is what we're supposed to do, right? This is a conversation and we're having a conversation. So I do not mind pausing and whatnot because it is really about the story and going in the weeds and the details. But yeah, so after Gabrielle Union's book, I started reading Pastor Rick Warren's Purpose Driven Life. And in that book, that's where he said, it is your greatest shame. That's the thing that your greatest shame is the thing that will heal others. And when I read that, I was like, excuse me, Pastor, can I have my edges back? Because I didn't want to tell anybody, right? Because remember, I had heard God say I will use this story and then cut to 6 months later where Pastor Warren is telling me in words in a book, your greatest shame will be the thing that heals others. Yo. And that's when I knew, like, crap, I'm going to have to tell people what this man did to me. I'm going to have to tell people what this man did with me. And oddly enough, cut to now, looking back, because I started blogging in 2018 about it, and I started telling my listeners, because at this time I was still doing morning radio where I live. And I noticed the shift with my listeners change. So instead of them being like, oh my God, what you said about Kim Kardashian was so funny, they saw me as I saw Gabrielle Union. They felt seen with me.
Got it.
And they started understanding that they weren't the only ones. I started understanding I wasn't the dumbest woman on this planet. and it helped me in my healing journey. And yes, I got a coach, and yes, I continue to read books and do that journey. But that is the thing that also helped me. The truth will set you free, right? That's what they say. And it's so true. Because once I started opening my mouth and really putting shame on the back burner, oh my goodness, Jasmine, like, I'm just like, now I don't care. Now I can tell you everything that he did to me and be like, whatever, it is what it is. And if people want to call me dumb, then that's where it's only because I know that you haven't gone through a healing journey and you have shame. It doesn't have anything to do with me anymore. So I love sharing my story now because I want to do for women what Gabrielle Union did for me, for sure.
I totally relate to all of that. When you said the quote that the pastor said, again, it snatched my edges too, girl. Because I was like, wait a minute. That is what we've been trying to do at Mama's Cocktail Hour. This is what I do on Tuesday Talks, because I been through so much, but I feel like I went through it for a reason. And like we like to say, like, there's power in telling your story, because you can open up connections. Because someone has to take the first step. And like you said, a lot of people are scared to share their stories in fear of judgment. But if I come first, or you come first, and you say, girl, listen, this is what happened to me. Okay, so I'm letting you know this is what happened to me. You're not alone. This is what I've learned. Then sky's the limit. And it opens up the ways to have these conversations that we need to have so bad in our community.
And see, and I grew up in the church, so I'm Christian, a Jesus follower. Jesus is my homeboy. And unfortunately, what religion taught me was to be secretive, because religious people, and I'm using religious as a negative, because Jesus did not like religion. That's why in the Bible, he's flipping a lot of tables, because he's mad at the religious folks. So to me, religion is negative. But anyway, religion taught me to be secretive about our sins and our burdens and stuff, because nobody told the truth about what they was really doing. They acted holier than thou. And so again, when I went through that, I was like, I ain't gonna tell nobody I went through this. What? When actually the Bible says, share your burdens with one another. And this is why Jesus was like, listen, I know y'all about to be in these flesh shoes down here sinning and stuff. Y'all need to tell each other what you're doing, because you're going to need each other. That's why we're supposed to share, because the more we share, the more people gets healed, the more shame gets erased, and then the devil can't win. It is in our shame that the devil wins every time.
Yeah, because if you live in shame, you're not going to acknowledge what's going on, what's wrong. If you don't acknowledge, then you can't confront it. You can't make a plan of action. You just kind of sitting in it, and it starts to eat you up.
And you can't heal what you don't reveal, right? So I cannot heal these wounds and the things that I quote unquote did and the things that I've been through if I don't share it with people. So I could literally, that happened in 2017. It is 2021 today. I could still be sitting in that shame because I told nobody.
Exactly.
What do you think that would have done to my body? What do you think?
It would have made you sick. Let me tell you.
Sick.
Let me tell you. I have a 20-year-old son from a previous relationship. I was with my son's father since I was really, really young. 13 years. It was a disaster. When I tell you a disaster, it was a disaster. I did everything you said not to do. Okay? Because again, I came from a single parent, alcoholic father. I suffered from anxiety. I didn't have an identity. I didn't know my worth. And all I could hang on to was, well, I'm supposed to be a wife. I'm supposed to be a good mother. That is my identity, right? I struggled with that. He cheated on me left and right, and I accepted it. I dealt with it. Why? Because it must have been something I did wrong. So instead of knowing what boundaries are, what's that? Instead of knowing what my worth is, what's that? I would just listen to him tell me, well, if you would just not have done this, then I would have not done that.
Girl.
It's because you are like this.
Projection.
Gaslighting. What was gaslighting? You know what I'm saying? Like
exactly.
You just are so in it. And a lot of people like to judge. A lot of the reason I didn't like to share my story with people around me, because they were like, why are you putting up with it? Why are you dealing with this? But what people don't seem to understand is that when you are completely enmeshed in it, your mind is almost like, it becomes like That's all you know, your reality.
That's all
Like
you know.
that's who you are, who you become, and all you want to do is just please this person because you think if I just please this person, then I'm going to feel better.
Yeah, because and people always wonder, oh, why does she stay? Why did woo, woo, woo. Now listen, this is the perfect formula for the devil, because not only did nobody have a conversation with us about what makes a healthy relationship and what is healthy hard versus dysfunctional versus abusive. So you got that. And then on the other hand, society is telling you you're a woman, so your duty is to serve a man, is to be with the man, is to have kids. That's the perfect storm. And then you get with a dude that you actually like, you're attracted to. The first month or so is that lustful stage. Your body is telling you you like him. Your vagina is getting all, whatever. And we think, you know what I'm saying? And by the way, your vagina does not actually know if he's the one or not. But when you're young,
you think it does.
You think it does.
It's a magic 8-ball. What are you talking about?
And actually, I don't even want to say when you're young. I want to say when you're not clear on what a healthy relationship is. You think that the butterflies is the Holy Spirit telling you, that's the one, boo. That's the one.
Okay. So full transparency, that's all that relationship was, the sex. Because I confused sex with love. Well, I mean, look at how great this is. That it must be coming from somewhere, right? Oh, he just went through something, and we're young parents and blah 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 blah, like excuse after excuse. The things I tell you, girl, that I put up with for so many years, like, and I know there's a lot of girls that go through that because one, they're lost like me. Two, they can't go to their family because I know for me culturally, they're very prideful. You don't be sharing your business with everybody because they're gonna judge you.
Yeah, that's Black people too. I tell you, my mom especially. Yeah, like, oh, you keep this stuff in the house, woo, woo. And unfortunately, and I know my mom meant well, and this is not to throw her under the bus. I love her, but that just taught me that. That's why I didn't want to share at first. Why would I tell you that? I went through that relationship for 2 years, and I didn't tell anybody because I thought I was supposed to keep it close to the chest, like you said.
Because that's what we're taught. Nobody wants to know. Like I said, my mom is super dope and stuff like that. Yeah. She had a hard time accepting that I was coming on here doing these things. Because instead of her seeing, I can't expect her to see my vision. But she's still old school. Like, you don't need to let people know that you were going through this. Like, you've accomplished so much. Why can't you just live in that?
Yeah.
Right. But I'm like, no, I don't want it just to be, okay, I've accomplished, I've overcome, I'm healthier or whatever now. I want people to understand that they're not alone, because that loneliness, that confusion that I sat with for so long is a horrible feeling.
A horrible feeling. And Maya Angelou said, when you learn, you teach. And so that's what, for me, Single You Academy is. It's like, I learned, and I may be 5 steps ahead of you, so I'm going to pull you up too. I got you, and when you know better, you do better. And so that's why, I have some family members. I had a whole family member, a whole aunt tell me that singleness is not sustainable and she wouldn't be supporting my business. And I was like, okay. And like you said, I can't, when God gives you vision, it's not a conference call. So he doesn't get your whole family in the room together and be like, okay, everybody. So Jasmine's purpose now is that.
Let's take a vote.
Right.
Says yes.
Right. So I just had to keep pushing. And like I said, I started blogging in 2018. I got my first client, and then I got certified in 2018. Got my first client in November of 2018, and I ain't looked back since.
You know what I love about your whole ministry? Let me tell you. What I love about your whole ministry is that you remove the power from the opposite sex. And because people like to think, oh, well, no, she's like, some people may say or may interpret it as, well, she's blaming the woman and giving a woman a list of things that she needs to fix. No, see, I see it. I get it. We can only control what we do. You quoted my Dr. Phil. Everybody knows I love me some Dr. Phil.
Yes, me too.
I love him. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's my grandfather in my head. He be giving me advice.
I love it. Yeah, I love Dr. Phil. Mm-hmm.
So, you can only control what you do, right? You have to, you make a choice to do these actions. So by you helping women learn how to love themselves, learn what it is that they want, learn how to set boundaries, You said something to the effect of learn what healthy, hard relationships are versus toxic relationships.
Yep.
You are empowering
Yep.
that woman.
Yep.
You're not blaming that woman. You are empowering that woman. And I think that is so freaking amazing. And people need to make sure that they understand that. We
Thank
can
you.
only be accountable for our actions, our own actions. We choose to stay. I chose to stay in that relationship.
Facts.
He didn't make me stay.
Facts. Same. I chose. And because I thought that that was love, right? Because when we are, the programming that we receive growing up from society, religion, parents, not having the conversation is love means stay. Love is a doormat. This is the ride or die mentality, right?
Ride or die.
I love him so much that I trust he will change. I believe he will change for me. Where now I see love as I love me more. So I'm going to walk away from anything that is causing me pain, that is at my detriment. I no longer trust that you will change for me. No, people don't do that. People don't change, period. At the majority, think about how hard it is to make you change, right? So I use losing weight as an analogy all the time. Everybody always wants to lose weight. Right at the top of the year, everybody's New Year's resolution is lose weight. But how hard is it for all of us to actually do that, to lose the last 10, to lose the 20, to put the donuts down, to put the ice cream down? You can't even change yourself, and you think you're going to change a whole man? How well is that working out for us?
What are you talking about, Reka? We're gonna love him. We're gonna love him past the red flags, girl.
Yeah. We're just gonna love the red flags out of him. That's what we think we're gonna do. And so we stay, and it's not. And I love that you said, I love that you're getting from my message and my platform that I am empowering the woman. I feel like I'm putting the torch back in her hand. Instead of I used to think that men set the tone and the rules of the relationship because they say, well, men are the hunters and you wait for your Boaz, and he who finds a wife finds a good thing. So we're just supposed to follow these rules of the man, which is not true. And you're so right. Here's one thing that I did in that relationship, and I love telling this story because it shows you where my mindset was in that relationship, where I'm trying to erase that from women's mind. So again, we were in a long distance relationship, and I went down to Atlanta, and he was a security guard at this club. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be the good girlfriend, and I'm going to go visit him, and that's going to be so cute. And when I got into the club, he said, hey, you know what I'm saying? So I want you to go sit at the bar so I can watch men hit on you and see how you turn them down. And again, the thread through our whole 2-year relationship was he always thought I was sneaky, that I was a cheater, that I was this and that, Mind you, cut to 2 months after he broke up with me, I found out that he was cheating on me the whole time. So in retrospect, that was a lot of projection on his part, right? But I didn't know that. I thought, oh, I have to show him that I love him by doing these things that he requests of me. So Jasmine, I did it. I went and sat at the bar as he requested, so I could prove to him that I loved him. Look at me. I'm a good woman. I'm going to tap dance for you so we could just get over this same argument. Instead of realizing, I wish somebody would tell that. I cannot wait. I wish a dude would ask me to do something ridiculous like that today. The mindset that I have now, okay? I would have cussed him clean out. We wouldn't even have got that far. That relationship, I think at that time, we maybe a year in. We wouldn't even got that far. But again, think about the mind do that, right? To act on his request. And so what we have to do as women, and what I do in Single You Academy, is I help women transform their mind, how they think about dating, how they think about love, how they think about being single. Because you'll stay in some BS because God forbid you're single. God forbid you actually work on yourself for a whole year.
Because if you're single, that means you lost. If that's single, that means you're broken and damaged. What is wrong with you?
What's wrong with
And
you?
because everyone is asking you these questions, like, why are you single? Why are you not having kids? Why are you not
Yeah.
this? Now that
Mm-hmm.
makes you feel even worse, because you're like,
Yep.
well, why am I not? This
Yep.
person,
Yep.
and this person's in a relationship. Why can't I be in a relationship? But like you said, you don't know what's going on in that relationship when they're home.
Facts. Facts. Facts.
Social media is a whole other thing too. All this relationship goals
Yep.
because they
Mm-hmm.
have gifts or whatever. Your
Girl.
relationships are work. You're not
Yep.
gonna like him every
Mm-hmm.
day. You'll love him, but he'll get on your nerves.
So I did a whole podcast episode on Single You, the podcast, and it's still there, obviously, titled "How Social Media is Destroying Your Life and Making You Feel Bad About Being Single." We don't realize that what we're listening to, what we're watching, affects us way more than we actually know. But the problem is, when we're in school, they just want to teach us math and history. There are no teachings around who we are as humans, psychology of humans, how we get our programming. Like I said, I'm an NLP certified life coach, which is the neuro linguistic programming. And so the synapses in your brain, just to get a little nerdy here, the way your brain waves are now is because of all of the program you received as you were growing up. So the mindset you have around singleness and dating and love and sex is probably toxic. And you're gaslighting yourself. I did a whole podcast episode about, are you gaslighting yourself to be in this relationship? Because I gaslighted myself so many times as well. We talk about what the guy does for us and gaslighting us, but you can actually be gaslighting yourself to stay in this relationship, because again, it's the way that you think about dating, marriage, sex, and being single. So what I do inside of Single You Academy is I help you transform the way that you think, right? Which starts with knowing who you are. And so, so that's, I can't remember why I said that, but I think because you said.
Well, guys,
yes.
We didn't even, let me tell you what the topic was, because we're
right.
already talking about it.
Right.
So the topic that we wanted to talk about today is, why do women, or some women, feel like they have to constantly forgive men who are constantly doing them wrong? Like, why do we feel we have to be that ride or die? Why do we feel that we have to stick it out?
Yep.
And as we've been hearing,
it's the programming. It's the programming. Yep.
It is the programming. Let me tell you something. My mom was with my dad for 20 years. And a lot of the reasons she says she's still with him was because she had children. And that's what she thought she was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And when she finally left him, we were older, she confided in us and said, well, I still with him for you guys. And we were like, what? For us? You should have left his ass a long time ago. Right. But that's what she was programmed. That is what she was raised to do. And I just love the fact now that we can question that. Well, why is that?
Yeah.
Why do I have to self-sacrifice? I don't want to be a martyr.
Yeah.
It's making me sick.
And how dare us as millennials stay in that cycle, stay in that BS? How dare us? Because what a time to be alive as a woman today. We get that choice, right? There's so much information now out here where we can actually do the work on ourselves. But the problem is, we think self-care is getting a bubble bath and a massage.
Yeah, no.
That ain't self-care or self-love. I mean, people have different definitions, but to me, if you're just doing things on the outside, but it doesn't actually change the way you feel about being single, then what are we doing? Society, unfortunately, leans so heavy on getting the Range Rover and buying the latest Jordans and stilettos and being the Kardashians of the world, when we actually do not actually sit down and learn ourselves and go to school for it. Like, that's why I call it Single You Academy, because it's really going to school and learning about who you are, humanness, the psychology of it all. Instead of saying, okay, well, I love myself and I'm an independent woman, so I'm about to get me a massage, and and I love massages like the rest of them. I get my nails done and stuff like that. But that's outside stuff. That ain't got nothing to do with our inside. And all of this information we have out here now, how dare us stay in this cycle of BS that our parents and our grandparents had to, because they didn't have the information. And then if you go way back to, like, our grandmothers had to be married. You couldn't even own a house. You couldn't have a credit card. You had to basically be married. And so again, how dare us? How dare us?
I agree. I do think, though, that you have to be ready though to go
100%.
on that journey.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if you're not ready, you're not going to receive anything. It's just going to sound like a whole bunch of self-help stuff.
Facts.
But if you are and you really do the work, it really does transform not only how you see yourself, but how you see the world. Because the possibilities are endless now in relationships. Your confidence now, you're able to take on opportunities maybe you were too scared or to do, or meet people you were too afraid to meet. Like, there's power in really getting to learn about yourself. Again, we're that generation that's really starting to do that. So just know you are going to reach, you are going to get resistance, because a lot of our family members are still thinking the way they did. But I feel like we do owe it to ourselves. And like me, I have a daughter. I owe it to my daughter to do the best that I can with the information I have, and hopefully model something for her. I want her to know that she can be expressive of her feelings. I don't want that whole kids are to be seen. Was it kids are to be seen but not heard?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
No, she's respectful, but if she has an opinion, she has an opinion. Because why would I want to silence her voice? I'm not going to force her to do something she doesn't want to do. Like if she doesn't feel comfortable being around a relative or hugging a relative, I'm not going to force her to do that either, because that confuses her. Well, if I feel uncomfortable, why mom is still telling me that I have to do this?
Facts.
You know, it's little things like that when you really start to take a look at yourself, you start to realize, dag, I have issues with everybody around me.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. No, and you're right. Like, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make her drink, right? And so my prayer is always, in what I do, is, God, send me the women that you want to hear my voice, my assignments, because I truly believe that I have a certain number of assignments on this earth. And so I'm like, God, send them to me, send them to me. I'm not going to be able to help every woman. Sometimes they're not ready. They're not ready. And obviously before 2015, I wasn't ready either. I had to go through something. And then once I got out of that, I was like, yo, and then, you know, I had my awakening. And so for the women who are ready and they are in their awakening, I'm here to get you started. If you don't know where to start when it comes to like knowing your worth and knowing how to set and keep boundaries with yourself and men. So you are absolutely right. I'm here for the ones that are ready.
Boundaries. Can you just shed a little light on what you think healthy boundaries are? Because a lot of us growing up in certain type of households, there are no boundaries.
Right. Facts. Yeah. So, so first of all, let me say this. I define boundaries as this. I say this: it is in your boundaries that you show yourself you love yourself. So stop being a man pleaser. Stop being a people pleaser. If you really don't want to do something, if you don't want him to cheat on you, if you don't want him to talk down on you, you have to set and keep that boundary. Because here's the thing. A lot of women, we will go into relationships with good intentions and say, this is what I expect and this is what I want, and I don't want to be played and da 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 da. But the moment he plays you, you let him boo-hoo and apologize, and then 2 weeks later, you're back in the same situation and relationship with him, even though he just disrespected you 2 weeks ago. Guess what he just learned? That all he has to do is apologize, cry, boo-hoo, say the right things, and you'll take him back.
Because we teach people how to treat us.
We teach people how to treat us. So if your boundary is do not cheat on me, and he does, I'm sorry, boo, you got to let him go. You got to let him go. Now, whether you believe in second chances or not, that's on you. But I don't believe in third and fourth and fifth and 72nd chances.
I think that's something we get caught up on. The third and fourth. I do believe there may be certain situations, maybe cheating can be overcome depending on the work, the sincerity. There's a lot of things that go into it.
Yep.
2, 3, 4, 5 second families.
Exactly. And that's why you have to know who you are, though, because what can you put up with? Because to me, that's my deal breaker. If I'm in a marriage or not, dating, marriage, or whatever, you cheat on me, we're done. And so you have to know who you are, right? Before you get into these relationships, so you can know your deal breakers. So then when things do arise, you're not like, what do I do here? I don't know what to do with my hands. I'm not sure, whatever. Like the only way you're going to be able to set and keep boundaries is if you know who you are. So yeah, boundaries is really just, like I said, knowing who you are, knowing what you want, setting and keeping those boundaries.
I think is great when it comes to boundaries and spreading the message of how important it is, because like you said, a lot of women, we tend to be natural people pleasers. We tend to overextend ourselves. And it doesn't matter, even not only with relationships, but even with family relationships or even friendships. So I think that's something too that we are starting to speak out loud. Like, just because you say no, that doesn't make you a bad person. It
Facts.
doesn't make you selfish, because people
Facts.
love to call a woman selfish.
Yep. And I say this, yes, you're right. I'm being selfish. Because why is selfish a negative word? Like any psychologist will tell you, any therapist will tell you, you have to choose you over everybody. You cannot pour from an empty cup, right? And you keep your cup full by having boundaries. It's not about having a brick wall or gates. It's just fences, really, and setting your boundaries to the things that you say that you want, because that makes you a happy and whole person. But the more you diminish yourself, the more you tap dance for other people, the less and less of yourself you become, and the less of yourself you become, and the less of yourself you become. And then you're going to wake up and you're not even going to know who you are. So you have to set those boundaries. And who cares if they call you selfish? No is a full sentence. Stop explaining yourself to people. You don't have to.
Oh, spoken to my heart.
Yes.
It's true. It makes you absolutely miserable,
Yep.
because you're running around trying to please everybody.
Yep.
And you don't take care of your own needs. And even sometimes you even find the things in your own household are falling in shambles, because you may feel the need that you have to, keep up with the Joneses with everybody
Yeah.
else.
Mm-hmm.
Selfish is a word that I think a lot of women get called if they don't martyr themselves.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that we keep saying, you're not selfish is okay. It's not a bad word. Selfish
It's just
is
a
okay. It's not a
word,
bad
right?
word.
Who gets to define it for you? It's just a word. Like, again, that goes back to knowing who you are. And a part of knowing who you are is defining things for you. So in my emotionally abusive relationship, he would always call me like a bad friend. And that's why people don't call your phone and you doing this and da-da-da-da-da. I didn't know then that I didn't even know words like introvert. I'm an introvert, and I'm somebody who needs low maintenance friends. And I literally, after I got out of that relationship, I defined what friendship looked like for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, people don't get to emotionally dump on me. People, and mind you, none of my friends have ever said I was a bad friend, but he was. He was, right? And I believed him because I was so in love and rose-colored glasses and whatnot. So after I got out of that relationship, that was part of going to Mexico and asking myself, who am I? Who does God say I am? And how am I going to show up in this world from now on? And that is really when I began to lean more into what I wanted and said no with so much audacity. And like, I don't care what y'all think. Bye.
Well, I have a question for you, Reka.
Yeah.
So has this new empowered badass Reka, has she been in a relationship with these since then, with your
Nope.
standards now?
Nope. I have been abstinent. It will be 3 years in December. I'm good. I had one relationship right after that one, and that's a whole story, and you can hear that on my podcast, Single You the Podcast. I call him the $10,000 boyfriend because he literally cost me $10,000. And so that was another lesson that I believe God was like, okay, I need you to learn this one more lesson and then go from there. But since then, like I said, no. I had some more healing to do around sex and the shame of sex and religion, that I told myself I'm going to be abstinent and figure that out first. And so now maybe, but the town I live in, it's also not really, it doesn't provide a lot of space for dating. And then COVID happened and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I am interested to see how I will be moving forward, because that'll be the test for sure. And I know that I'll pass it. But no. So to answer your question, no, I'm chilling. I'm single as a dollar bill, girl. Shoot, if you know of Michael B. Jordan that is looking for a wife, let me know.
That my husband knows that's my free pass, girl.
Yeah, I know that's right. Right.
Him and Creed. Whew, look.
Lord have mercy. I'm like, Lori Harvey is lucky.
She's so lucky.
Yeah. But now I really have my list of what I require a man to have, right? So I have here's my standards, and you either have to meet or exceed them. I'm no longer dealing with bottom feeders. We're no longer doing low vibrational stuff. I'm no longer settling, because now I know exactly who I am. Deeper than my favorite color is blue. I know exactly what I want and how to get it. I have the audacity to believe that I can get it and the patience to wait for it. And also, I'm okay with dying at 102, a single woman and no kids. Like, that no longer defines me. Like, I'm worthy regardless of my relationship status. Do I want whatever God's will for my life is? Yes. And now I have so much discernment. And now I'm a community, I community date. So like if men do present themselves, I let my friends know, because remember that emotionally abusive relationship I was in, I kept it secret. Now everybody know that needs to know. And my little circle of friends, what have you. So I do believe that I'm fully equipped now. I have mastered myself as much as I can outside of a relationship. And it'll be another journey. I'm not perfect. It'll be another journey when I do get in a relationship, because relationships are mirrors. So there'll be other things that I have to learn about myself in a relationship, right? But like I said, now I've arrived. Now I know exactly what I'm looking for and what I want in a guy. And it's more about his character, less about the money, less about having a six pack. Do you have to be fine to me? Yes. I have to be attracted first. And then we go deeper, because when I'm dating, to me, it's actually data collection. I'm no longer jumping heart and vagina first. We're going to be head and logical about everything.
Yeah, the vagina get you in trouble all the time. You mentioned, you said, whew, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yes. You said, if you want to know if a man is good for you or dateable for you, you have to make sure that his integrity and how he thinks matches with you. Because women, we tend to be like, oh, we think this way. We automatically assume the opposite sex thinks that way. We think, this is what we value. This is what we consider our integrity. We automatically think that we're going to convince them the same way. Right? So is it safe to say then you would suggest for women to be like, listen, you really need to have these conversations with these men up front, like what it is that they value, what they don't value, what do they see in the future? Like, how do you put that into play?
So I would say, I'm trying to remember where I said that, but I would say this: you have to go into dating, like a lot of women date looking for a husband. Stop putting so much excuse me, look, I'm drinking La Cruz, so seltzer water. Stop putting so much pressure on dating. Just go out there and really say, what can I learn from this guy, and what can I learn about him? And ask questions on a friendship level, right? Ask questions deeper than what's your favorite color? How does he think about, I don't know, there's so much stuff going on right now. How does he think about women empowerment? How does he think about Naomi Osaka? What about Trump? What about, like, just get to know these guys and see what they're like. And then when they present themselves as who they are, you get to decide, okay, is that something I want to deal with or not? Instead of jumping in heart and vagina first, and 2 days in, you already sleeping with him, all in love, naming your kids already, setting,
picking out your wedding dress,
picking out the wedding dress or whatever. You don't even know him. So it's like, we need to slow down the dating process. And I don't have a number on it, like, Steve Harvey does, the 90-day rule. That is between you and your God, and you got to figure that out. And you'll know the more that you begin to refine who you are and master yourself, right? Again, we need to have a journey first of knowing who we are, and then we come into a relationship whole, with our discernment high, our iron sharpened, and with logic. So that's how I would answer that question.
That's dope. There was a quote, I'm just gonna say it because I just thought it was bomb, that you said. You said, girl, are you dating him or are you just dealing with him? That blew my mind. I was like, woof.
Yeah.
How many women can say, if they hear that, they go, oh my God, I'm not really dating this man. I'm just dealing with him in hopes that he will somehow transform into a prince.
And you frustrated. Like, you know, so a lot of women say, but I love him. But sweetie, that love don't look good on you. You look heavy. You constantly minimizing yourself. You stressed out. You walking on eggshells. You don't know how to speak up for yourself. You're afraid to speak up. And if you do speak up, you're afraid that he will leave you. So then you don't speak up. Like, what kind of love? Again, we think love means that I have to be with him. We think love means that you're a doormat. And we think that about forgiveness as well. So yeah, are you dating him or are you just dealing with him? Because I don't feel like dating and love and all that is all that heavy. I don't be thinking it's that heavy.
I agree. The relationship that I have with my husband now and the relationship I have with my son's father is two completely relationships
Yeah.
and different in the sense of the peace of mind that I have in this relationship. I never had peace of mind before.
Yeah.
And we've been through some real life-changing events in my marriage. And like you said, it was a healthy hard.
Yeah.
But I never had to worry that, you know, he was going to go or he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't there. That anxiety that I constantly lived in, that state of anxiety in that
Mm-hmm.
previous relationship, it wasn't there.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
when you able to see the difference between the two, it is like
Mm-hmm.
it's more than night and day. It's like amazing.
And I know you saw the conversation I had with one of my other friends about why married people say marriage is hard, because I don't really like that phrase, because your definition of hard and my definition of hard,
Mm-hmm.
and a woman who maybe grew up in a household where her mom was being abused all the time,
So
her definition of hard is different. So really breaking that down, that's another episode on my podcast, Single You, the podcast, knowing the difference between healthy hard versus like dysfunctional. Because I bet you, Jasmine, and you can answer, and I'm not an expert in marriage and dating.
mm-hmm.
That's why I don't call myself a dating coach. I'm a boundaries coach and a self-love coach. But I bet you that you two aren't against each other. It's you two against the world, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's exactly how it is. We are partners. Now it took us some time because when you come from being two single people, you know, trying to become that team, it's a
Right.
process.
Right.
But once we've achieved that, like it is against us against the world.
Yeah.
In my previous relationship, I was fighting him, he was fighting me, and we were trying to like assert dominance over the other person. It wasn't
Facts.
trying to come together.
Facts. Yeah. And I bet it was all about control. And my emotional abusive relationship, he wanted to control me so badly.
Yes.
And I let him, because I thought
Yes.
that's what I was supposed to do.
That's
Mm-hmm.
oh girl, you're thinking to my heart. Oh my gosh, I am so happy that we had this opportunity to chat. I
Yeah.
think you are so bomb. Like
Thank
I
you.
said,
Thank
you are
you.
women empowerment all the way.
Thank you.
Just providing women who seek you out the tools that they need to make sure that they're able to learn who they are and kind of figure out what they want out of
Mm-hmm.
themselves, their partner, their life. I think that's amazing. That's you're bomb. I don't care.
No,
I
thank
just
you. Thank you.
so before we go, just drop again your information
Okay.
about your Single You Academy, all that stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about Single You Academy, because right now the doors are open for a new cohort. And cohort just means group of women. And I typically will not do more than 5 at a time. And so I either will get 5 before September 12th, or September 12th is when the doors will close. But if I get 5 before September 12th, I will close the doors beforehand. So here's the thing. Let me ask you this for those who are watching. What would happen if you took not being in a dysfunctional relationship seriously? Okay. Think about that. And you being in this cycle of dysfunction with men, or sometimes it's just one guy, because most of us professional ladies, we got our professional life together. We paying our bills.
Oh, we the boss.
We the boss. We the boss chick, and we think we know our worth.
We were dancing in the Miss Independent video with
Yeah,
you.
exactly. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. We think we know our worth, and we're so independent, but we let this one guy consistently walk all over us. So then I would argue that you actually don't know your worth then, right? And then what is it costing you to consistently be in this dysfunctional relationship, in this revolving door with men? Because raise your hand, how many times have you written him off only to find yourself back in that relationship 2 weeks later, 2 months later? He sends the right text on the right evening, and then you're back with that guy. And you know he treats you like crap, but you're consistently trusting he will change. So now you're watching me and Jasmine have this conversation, and now you're like, you know what, I'm frustrated, I'm sick of that, and I want to stop that cycle, and I want to discover my worth, and I want to learn how to set and keep boundaries, not only with myself, but with men as well. You just don't know where to start? Start with me. Take it seriously, because if you wanted to be a lawyer, you wouldn't ask Jasmine for advice. You wouldn't ask your friends. You wouldn't be Googling how to be a lawyer. You would actually go to school. But what we do is we ask our friends, girl, what you think about this? And da-da. And they sometimes in the same cycle of dysfunction. Or we'll Google how to get him to marry me, or how do I show him I'm a good woman, da 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 da. But I sit here today and ask you, how well is that working out for you? It's not. So if you want to discover your worth, if you want to learn who you are, if you want to learn how to set boundaries and keep them with yourself and with men, and you don't know where to start with me. So Single You Academy is open. The doors close on September 12th, or if I get 5 clients, 5 women beforehand. So if you're interested in having that conversation about you and I becoming coach and you becoming the client, send me a DM right now. All you have to do is type boundaries and I'll know exactly what you're talking about. So it won't be weird. Just slide into my DMs, girl. And it's women only. So that's how you can obviously find me. Just Me Reka is my Instagram. And also Single You, the podcast, where I have these conversations every Thursday. Single You, the podcast is available on all streaming platforms.
Reka, thank you
Jasmine.
so much. Thank you so much for coming on to Tuesday Talks with Jazz. Like, this was like, I was like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
I'm so happy the comments were lighting up. I'm sure
I know,
the
I
ladies
saw them.
received
Yeah.
a lot of information. So thank you so much. Hopefully this won't be the last time that you and I chat.
Nope.
And I'll make sure I put in all your information in the description of this video. But again, thank you so much. And ladies, make sure that you check out Miss Reka, because she is bomb and she will help you get you together.
I will if you need help. And I just want to thank you for, you saw me on somebody else's platform and you literally sent me a DM. You just went for it and look what happened out of it. So this will not be the last conversation. And now I'm thinking that I need to have you on my podcast to tell your story of the guy you were with before your husband and the differences between that relationship and you now being in a healthy relationship. I would love to have that conversation with you. So
girl,
we'll have to do that.
Juicy. Let's just say this. I caught him with a girl and he actually asked both of us to be together at the same time.
The audacity of men, right? That's why I want us to have the audacity to believe that we can get what we want, because these dudes out here have the audacity to continue to disrespect us over and over and over again. And we just sit here and let them. Yeah.
You know how I knew I was completely broken? I needed to run from that man? Because for like 30 seconds, I actually considered it.
Wow.
With that.
There we go. So we need to have that conversation. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I love it. Well, again, all right, girl.
Thank you so much. Yep. You have a great night, guys. Okay. Make sure you look back for the replay. Thank you, Reka. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.